Ta-da! Well, here it is. This is the bike. This is actually a 1940 Matchless Model X. It's about 1000cc V-twin engine, as built by the Matchless Motor Company, and it's so this is the bike that I finally got, that I had to sell two of my other bikes to buy, but I'm in love with it already, so I don't regret it for a minute. It's just wonderful. So I've only just got it. I'm still sort of feeling my way around it, but it's great. So what have we got? So 1940. It's a V-twin, 1000cc V-twin, and it's the same engine that was used in the Brough Superior motorcycles, which is really great, because I'm a big, obviously Brough Superior. You may know Lawrence of Arabia used to have Brough Superiors, and he's an old boy of the school I went to. So there's a bit of a link there. And they used the Brough used Matchless Model X engines, tuned. Later on, they changed to Jap engines, I think, but in the 30s and that, they used the Matchless engine, so that's nice. It's a side valve engine rather than overhead valve. So, most bikes we're used to saying OHV, overhead valve. This is a side valve engine. So the valves actually are like in the side. I know it sounds weird, but they're in the side of the cylinders. So the cylinder head, there's nothing on the cylinder head, it's just like a cap. The only thing in the cylinder head is the spark plug. So you can take the cylinder head off, and if you look at the cylinder head, then you'll look down and you'll see the piston over on the left, and over on the right you'll see the two valves. So the carburation comes up. And to adjust the tappets, you take these covers off here, and you adjust the tappets down there, because everything's like upside down, if that makes sense. Wonderful. And just getting ahead of myself a bit, but so you can see here there are two grease nipples. They are the grease nipples to grease the valves, because of course with the valves being like upside down, there's no oil. No oil can drip into the valve stems, so you actually have to grease the valve stems, because it's a side valve engine. I'm sorry, I'm loving it. So getting ahead of myself again a bit, I have counted, and so far, because I've probably more, I have found that there are 16 grease nipples on this bike. 16. So and what I'm going to be doing in the next few days, I'm going to recommission the bike, and we'll be going through that, because I bought this bike. I got it from Frank Westworth, who's the editor of Real Classic magazine, and he's had it about 19 years, I think. But then he was having trouble starting it and put it in storage, and it's been stored for a few years, and it was all covered in sort of grease, or AFC 50 or whatever it was, and what I've done is I've just taken it and I've just cleaned all the grease off, and it's come up fantastic, as you can see. He sort of had it restored a bit when he had it. Oh dear! Oh no, I'm gonna have to stop because I've got a message. Right, sorry, where was I? Because someone just, I'm using my phone to video, and someone just rang me. Right, yeah, it was in storage for 4 years, so it's great. He obviously greased it all up, sprayed it all, and it's stored really well. And he had it. I know he had the engine rebuilt, because I think the chap he bought it off, or thereabouts, it has got, to stop wet sumping, which is where the oil goes from the oil tank into the engine, it has its own little valve there that you can turn the oil supply off to stop it wet sumping. Well, it was a vicar owned this down in Plymouth, and unfortunately, but one of the last rides he did, he went up to Bristol, which is all fine, but when he came back from Bristol, he forgot to turn the oil back on, and he rode all the way from Bristol down to Plymouth without the oil turned on. And so you can imagine that didn't do a great deal for the engine, and that's why it's all had to be rebuilt. But yeah, it's it's fabulous. It's a great sort of original-ish condition, although it's kind of been sympathetically restored. It's got these girder forks. I've always wanted a bike with girder forks, which are apparently utterly dire to ride, but I just love the look of them. Obviously, I've got the chronometric speedo. It's so good to have a chronometric speedo back again. I've missed them so much. And then I've even got my little display in the tank here. Yeah, it's really safe that having all the electrics in the tank. I can't think why this went out of fashion. So obviously you've got your amps there, light switch there. That's a blanking plate for the optional clock, which I think you might be able to buy the repros, but I think they're very expensive. I don't know. And this is an inspection light. So you actually pull that out, turn it on, and it's got long wires on it. And then it's an inspection light for when, rather than if, you break down at night. So that's quite, get it out and you can, an inspection light, although it's not wired up at the moment. Side valve, we've got the girder forks, rear suspension. That's the rear suspension. Springs on the seat. So I imagine it's like a magic carpet ride. Not. But I mean, the seat is so comfortable because it's actually a proper seat. You know what I mean? It's a seat rather than like a long, thin thing that you sit on. You know, it's actually shaped. You know, I'm sure it's going to be really jarring riding along, but the seat itself is so comfortable. I mean, look at the lights on this. Wow, look at that. Wow, safety. You know, that's your light there, rear light. And but the headlight, wow, what a fantastic! It feels like you're a lighthouse. You're a mobile lighthouse riding along on this. So I can't tell you how thrilled I am with the bike. So so what I'm going to do the next few days, I've got to recommission the bike because obviously it's been in storage for a few years. And I've never had one before, much as I love it, but I'm familiar with it. I've never had a side valve engine before, never had a V-twin before. So I'm going to be servicing it, giving it a light service, greasing it all. I'll probably take the plugs out, we'll put some oil down, we'll turn it over. Above all, we'll try and make sure we've got oil circulation, make sure everything's free. I'll grease all of those 16 grease points. Out of interest, another 2 of the grease points. One is here because that drives the magneto. So this is magneto ignition. So that's great because a magneto, so it runs completely separate to the electric system. It generates its own spark. You know, when you kick over a magneto. I say that's great because even if you've got a flat battery or whatever, you know, it'll still start because the magneto, it generates electricity when you kick the bike over. And it's and by the rotation of the engine, that's what makes the spark. So let's face it, the electrics on this, I'm not expecting them to be great, but they only do the lights and like the horn. That's all. So even if they don't work, it doesn't matter. The bike will still keep going. It's been upgraded to 12 volt electrics. It would have been 6 volts, so that's nice. Oh yeah, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, there's a grease nipple on the gearbox. This is a Berman gearbox. Why? Because Berman gearbox is designed to run in grease, so with grease inside rather than oil, and that's what I was saying. But sorry about this. That's also a grease nipple for the magneto chain in there. So we'll probably take that cover off and check the magneto chain. But I know it's all good. The wheels have been rebuilt, stainless steel spokes. The colour, as far as we know, I've got to dig the history. I'm going to join the owners club, the Matchless Owners Club Jam Pot, and I try and get as much history as I can. It was, as far as I know, it's built in 1940, but it is an earlier engine. But the engine number is to say 40X. I think they kind of. I'm vague on the history, so I'm really interested to know exactly what it will be because I think they'd stopped making these by 1940, and they'd gone onto a war footing by then. Yeah. So anyway, grease for the gearbox, and then there's something like, I think there's 6 or even more grease nipples just on the forks. because there's so many unions and joints in the forks. There's actually, I think, 6 grease nipples just up here. What else? Yeah. So, the first thing I want to do is get it and then, take it out for a ride. Hopefully I'll like it. There's a couple of things I want to do. When it was restored or sort of refettled, I don't know why, but it's put on like this modern connector, which to me sticks out like a sore thumb. Oh, was I talking about the colour? I was before. We think it's the original colour, but again, try and see what history we can find. I have got some history, but it's all slightly vague. The front number plate would have had, that's been taken off. That's fine. Single carburettor. What's the brake horsepower? It's a 1000cc V-twin. Wow. Brake horsepower, 26. Compression ratio, 5:1. So I took it out to clean it on the drive, and that's on the slope. And as ever, I put them in gear to stop them sliding down the slope. And I thought the gearbox wasn't working because it just kept sliding down the slope. And then I realised it was just turning the engine over because it's such low compression that even though it was in gear, it was just, the engine was turning over going backwards. I had to put a bit of a block of wood behind the wheel. So, really low compression. A few other things. It's got these holes in the rear mudguard, these four holes. Not sure what they were for, whether there would have had, would have been a rear seat. You could fit an optional rear seat to these. Or I'm thinking maybe it was some kind of rack. I'm not sure. I'll see if I can find out. I'll probably just fill these holes with, I'll put a small nut and bolt in them. Okay, so what am I doing? I've ordered a new battery because this is the I say old battery. So this is like a battery case because they don't make you can, I think, if you really wanted to, get a battery that looks like this. But what you tend to do these days is buy a battery case like this and then buy a modern battery and put it inside the case. But the case on this has been a bit, it's a bit of a mess. So I bought a new case and a battery. So it's been on charge for 2 days now, and it's still showing, it's still showing that it's not charged. So I'm moving that because it's getting hot. So I think that, I've ordered a new battery anyway. I might as well take this off charge now because, and I've ordered a more powerful battery because, of course, that's a lead acid battery, so it has to stand upright in there. So that's the biggest they could get. I've ordered a glass mat battery, so it's going to be put in sideways, so I can get a much bigger battery in. Because a glass mat battery, it doesn't matter which way up you put it, but obviously lead acid, it has to go the right way up, otherwise all the acid comes out. So I've already ordered those. I've ordered some new spark plugs, and over the next few days I'm going to be recommissioning it, and then hopefully this coming Sunday we'll go out for a ride. What have we got? We've got valve lifter decompression lever there. So if you want to stop the engine, because as I say, the spark, there's no ignition key or anything, just when you kick it over, the spark starts on the magneto. So to stop it, you lift that, and that lifts the valves and the engine stops. You also use that for kicking the bike over, so you can kick it over compression or whatever, and then let it go and then kick it. Then we've got, let's get this right, I think that's the check which one's which. I think that's a choke lever. I'm a bit confused. No, that might be. Anyway, let's say that's a choke lever for now. I'm not sure it is. And then on this side is the other one, which is for the magneto, and that controls your advance and retard. Now that must be the choke. I can feel that's the choke. So that's the choke. This one goes to the magneto, and you can actually alter the advance and retard of the timing. So what you do is you retard it to start. Hopefully it won't kick back on you. And then generally put it on fully advanced after that. But if it starts pinking going up a hill or whatever, then you can retard it. Because, of course, magneto, I don't think there's any advance and retard in a magneto. It's just fixed. There's only that manual adjustment. There's loads more other things about this bike, I'm sure. Toolbox, that'll come in very handy, I think. Stainless steel. I put stainless steel downpipes on it. which I think I'll keep. And the only thing is, you probably didn't show it that much on the camera, but the chrome is is shiny, and the stainless steel is stainless steel, if you know what I mean. So I'm not sure, but they're probably very expensive pipes, so I'll probably leave them. And also, if I did replace them with chrome pipes, they'd probably just go blue anyway. What we got? Oh yeah, the brakes. Crikey, yeah. So they're obviously both drum brakes. They're about the size of my bicycle. Look at that, dear me. And the rear brake is only about, it's not much bigger than that. So yeah, top speed of this is about 80 miles an hour. You'll be glad to know. That's flat out. That's a V-twin 1000cc, but that's good for me. And so I'm only going to be tootling around the lanes and looking a long way ahead, because I think if you need to do an emergency stop, then that's probably about 50 yards. Righty ho, yeah. But yeah, I'm really chuffed at the moment. So just looking forward to obviously I've got to get everything. I've got to get it all serviced before I try and start it and get to know it a bit, and then we'll take it out for a ride maybe on Sunday if all goes well. It's Monday today, so I've got 6 days. I've ordered some new spark plugs, that's about it, and that new battery. But as I say, the battery, you don't need that to start it anyway. Right, well anyway, that's enough for now. So there we are. I think it's a 1940-ish. It could be 38, I'm not sure, but let's say 1940 for now. Matchless Model X, 1000cc V-twin side valve engine with girder forks, no rear suspension. These are actually made as a single seater. A lot of V-twins were designed to go with a sidecar. This has got sidecar lugs on it. That'll be the sidecar lug, but these are actually made as per the Brough Superior. These were made as a single, solo bike, so that's nice. They weren't just a workhorse; they were, a proper gentleman's motorcycle. What can I say? I'm in love with it. Yeah. So there we go. That's instalment one. More later on.